Welcome to the Pop Tower Podcast with your host, the man behind the myth, Peter Dawson, and the Soulful Lordy, James Bullock.
James.
What's going on, Peter?
Come with me if you want to cliche. I am indeed Peter W. Dawson.
And I am James Bullock.
And this is the Pop Tower. And yeah, you can probably guess what we're going to talk about today. But because we're here to talk about video games and movies, we're not going to do any TV again because it's a really hard time to do TV.
Yeah.
Like, there's one show I kind of was thinking about doing, but I don't think we're even going to have it in the pipe for next time. So, although I'm sure there's going to be a lull at some point with movies.
Oh, yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
January is not that far away.
No, so that'll probably be a great time to recap some TV shows we might have even skipped. And by sometime in January, we were just talking about this before we started recording, that's when DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths is going to happen.
Exactly.
So, and I think somewhere in there, Arrow also wraps up its 8-season run, so.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, well, one good piece of note. Speaking of 8, I saw that they posted that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is getting season 8, so
yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I think we're all happy about that. It's like, it's the comfort socks of TV right now.
I know.
All right, so let's talk about wrestling.
We can't say the same about this franchise.
Oh, boy. Oh, this poor franchise. I actually rewatched The Godfather not too long ago.
Oh.
So I'm just like, look at how they massacred my boy. Like, okay. So for those that aren't familiar with this, the WWE 2K franchise started with, I want to double check what the first game this company did was. It was SmackDown. WWF SmackDown back in 2000.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, I got it day one.
Yeah. But like, they did do a WrestleMania 2000 with the other company, which was AKI or something like that, right?
Right, Aki, yeah.
That was the last Aki game.
No Mercy was. No Mercy.
Oh, No Mercy, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because WWF had there was Aki licensing through THQ, and but then Ukes, this is the name of the other company, Japanese-based company, they got the license as well. So, and they were the main producers basically since Aki went under, 2001?
Yeah, when that split up after that.
Yeah. And then, Ukes became like the main developer, and they mostly did wrestling games ever since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a few, like they did a Berserk game of all things. Yeah,
they've done a few little, like, kind of Japanese, more Eastern quality games that you would expect from that type of company, but nothing too much on the Western shores outside of what we've gotten for WWE that has actually become popular.
No, like they did like one thing that like it was just called Online Pro Wrestling, and they also did like a couple of Wrestle Kingdoms.
Yeah, that was the thing that really attracted a lot of people when they were announced. Like, oh my goodness, we got the Wrestle Kingdom game developers actually coming on to make a WWE game.
Yeah. Or
WWF at the time.
Yeah, and now, like, that's been their main project. Like, they did a couple of movie tie-ins. Like, they did the Pacific Rim game. They did the Real Steel game.
Mm-hmm.
None of which were that great, unfortunately. And they did a couple of UFCs when THQ had the license for that. But, yeah, like, basically from 2013 to 2018, it's WWE 2K, WWE 2K, WWE 2K. And, like, it was kind of clear that the studio was feeling a bit of burnout. And like they also had frustration with like ever since 2K had taken over the license from THQ. Like that's been pretty because like the last THQ game was WWE 13.
Well, even with that, it was still like 2K14. Even with the license at 2K, it was still a THQ game. Like they had pretty much done everything right before they sold the license, so it was pretty much still like THQ's baby, but just with a 2K name on it. But then we came to 2K15.
These last few years have been pretty rough. And
but the worst part about it, like, I actually really, really enjoyed 2K19. So
no, 19 was pretty good.
Yeah, like 19 was arguably, no, not even arguably, easily the best. we've had of a 2K game officially since of this generation.
Yeah, easily. And now, unfortunately, we got 2K20.
Yeah.
Which, this is one of the most fascinating, like, the graphics just look so much worse. Okay, first of all, I should mention who the heck took over, because it was Visual Concepts.
Yeah, and that was a big deal because when they first announced in 2K15, that's when they aligned Visual Concepts with Yuke's. And the big thing was, like, Yuke's would do all the mechanical work, the gameplay, the engine, all that kind of stuff, while Visual Concepts would work on the animations, the graphics, and everything else. So you look at, like, 2K15, you see this big upgrade in the quality of graphics. And then Yuke's was really responsible in terms of how they changed up the gameplay and made it more simulation-based and slowed it down a lot.
Yeah.
But now it was like Visual Concepts was thrown into this situation where now we have to work with everything that we worked with before in animations and the engine that Yuke's took with them.
Yep. It did not go well.
No, not at all.
It did not go well at all. It was, I'm going to say it flat out, the best thing about this whole thing was the promotional campaign where they had the big group of wrestlers, and all of a sudden Becky Lynch crashes through the glass ceiling.
At the dinner party.
Yeah. It was pretty great. But, yeah, this is, almost none of the characters look like they should.
Yeah, majority of them
There's
don't.
some pretty infamous glitches, even after the updates.
Yeah, and I've actually posted it in our Hangouts on Google and everything else, and you've seen some of the stuff I've just encountered, and that was the first patch. Amazingly enough, the second patch didn't fix everything.
Not a shock.
No, not at all.
And
there's still a lot of graphical glitches, a lot of problems, just fundamentally that.
Yeah.
They just need. It's just one of those things you got to burn it and just start all over again.
Like the visual designs are so frustrating because like the textures and stuff even just really suck.
No, one thing I will give them incredibly. I will give them props for. The title belts look absolutely incredible in this game. Like, it's one of the few times they actually got title belts that look really, really good. Certain character models, like you said, look absolutely atrocious. Some of them actually look pretty good. The worst part about, like, the best parts of the graphics are the entrances.
Oh, yeah.
And once they get into the ring, that's when everything looks terrible.
Oh, yeah. And my favorite is I've watched now cutscenes where the characters somehow get interrupted partway through, but the game still goes like the cutscene's happening.
Oh, no, I've had that happen to me in universe mode. That happened to me twice, literally in a row. One was a tables match with Nia Jax. I think it was Nikki Cross. No, it wasn't Nikki Cross. It was somebody else. But Nikki Cross did the run in, and it was it was Nia Jax and Dana Brooke tables match, and on the way to the ring, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss attacked the Iconics, who had nothing to do with the match. And then the next match, literally the next match in Universe mode, it was another tables match. That was a singles match. And then the Usos got jumped by the Revival, and neither of those individuals were involved in the match.
Yeah.
And this was post the most recent patch too. Like, I didn't even have that problem before the last patch.
I'm still just thinking about, is it My Career or Universe mode where you play as those two characters?
That's My Career.
Yeah, My Career. Just the fever dream that happens in that.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it, that, once again, like 2K19 did a really good job of My Career. I think this year they did a really good job too. There's some real cornball stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
And just ridiculous. I mean, just obvious. I mean, that's just the thing. Either you like it or you don't. So, and I actually do appreciate it, so I have no problem with that. I love the moments where they kind of like had the flashback sequences, like you said, like a fever dream, where they decide, okay, we're going to do like a dream sequence.
Yeah.
And the commentators are talking about the fact that they're in a dream sequence. Like, that is the most creative stuff I've seen from the announce and the commentary.
There's two things I do want to spoil.
Okay, yeah.
Well, but first of all, I got to point out, what's her name? Brooke?
Oh, Brooklyn Von Braun.
She looks really bad. They couldn't just hire, like, a model or something to do.
I would love to know who worked on that model.
Because she's one of the most prominent characters in the entire damn game, and it's just rough.
It could have been the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, oh man. Because, you play as best friends Red and Trey, I believe their names are.
Yes, that's their names.
Yes. And two moments that really stand out to me are, one, how you fight the Undertaker at one point.
Yes.
Yeah, like, if I'm remembering this right, you have to go get Papa Shango to open a portal for you?
No, Papa Shango finds you and opens the portal.
That's right, thank you. I knew it involved Papa Shango and portals.
Yeah, no, Papa Shango does show up.
Like, I did not make that part up.
And the worst part about it, I wish they could have gotten the Godfather or Papa Shango to actually do a voiceover for it, because that would have been awesome.
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't like money.
Yeah.
He does stuff locally here for wrestling, and our wrestling scene is basically non-existent. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say, if they offer him money, he will take it. I'm not saying he's broke or anything. I'm just saying.
Oh no, he's doing well for himself. But I'm just saying he's a businessman.
Yeah, he likes money. I mean, there's a difference between desperately needing the money and just being like, yeah, I like money.
There's a difference between Godfather and Virgil.
Yeah. Oh. Now I'm sad. James, that wasn't very good, Father. We're just gonna make obscure wrestling references. But yeah, like that happens. And then my personal favorite, which also goes into one of the more glaring things, Samoa Joe. Small spoiler, he's the Universal Champion when you beat him for it in the career mode.
I love the fact that in both career modes, last year and this year, they always have like the better champions, like the people that people would want as champions are always the champions in the game.
Oh yeah, well, like one of your major rivals going through the end of my career is Adam Cole.
Yeah,
like they always do this.
And he was the WWE champion at this point, so
yeah, like it's man. But yeah, in this case, freaking Samoa Joe, you beat him for the title. And then he disappears.
Yes.
And then in universe, was it 7 years later?
It says 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
6 to 7 years later, he returns. He's been training in the mountains all this time, and also somewhere along the line, he got a robot arm.
Yes.
And to perfectly sum it up, his robot arm looks stupid because it looks like something like. It looks like something out of the original Star Fox.
Yeah, I was thinking it looks like the tail off the Tyrannosaurus off the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah. Like, oh my god.
That's illegal.
No, Joe was busy fighting Rita Repulsa.
Oh man, but Joe does a great, and that's one thing. Another thing I had to give credit to. A majority of the people that did the voice acting, the characters in this game, the actual wrestlers themselves, did a marvelous job. Joe did a great job.
Oh yeah, I bet Joe loves the fact that he has a robot arm.
Yeah,
he seems like he would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I guarantee he looked at the script and was smiling the whole time.
Yeah, it's like
Peyton Royce I liked her at the beginning of the story. There was another one that really, like, a lot of them stood out. I actually thought Charlotte Flair did a lot better reading lines than she does in real life.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Italian, not so much though.
Man, she hasn't gotten a good storyline since she became Mickey James' stalker. That was an interesting storyline.
Credit to the wrestlers; they did a really good job with the voice acting. I expected like really just bad voice acting across the board, because like they showed, especially I think a lot of people saw the earlier footage of like AJ Styles and Natalya and their terrible models. And they just didn't sound too good. And then you go throughout the story, you see, hey, no, it's actually a great amount of great voice actors in the game. The New Day, of course, do a great job. Like Big E selling his weird leg condition. It just had me laughing too much.
Good times.
Yeah, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, when it comes to my career, is that stupid grind that comes with the skill tree.
Yep.
Because you cannot like make the wrestler that you want to have anymore. Like if you want to have a specific high flyer or powerhouse, that's not an option. With this like honeycomb skill tree that is pretty much invisible unless you spend points to buy this upgrade or attribute, and like they're so minuscule. But thankfully the computer's so dumb that the game is easy enough without even upgrading too much. So yeah, my career is good, fun little story that's kind of kooky, but the fundamentals and the foundation of the gameplay just ruins a lot of what could have been a promising game. Especially coming off of 2K20.
Yeah, like, man, Squander Potential doesn't even begin to... well, speaking of ruined potential, you know, I'm sure some people could argue I'd be talking about both movies we're about to talk about. I don't know which one I want to start. You know what? I'm going to start with Terminator.
Yeah, well, my thing was I'm kind of wanting to go up like an upward positive momentum. It's not like to say that it's going to be a glaring drop, I mean, a rise of positivity and like glowing reviews. But for me, it's like going from worse to lesser and worse, and then maybe not as bad, but still, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
well, yeah, let's talk about Terminator Dark Fate, also known as the third best Terminator movie, again. Like, no matter what we say... Sorry, go ahead.
The quality. No, I was going to say, like, for you to even say that the lack of quality that has him and that has this movie in contendership,
yeah,
it's just so ridiculous.
The problem, like, some people are saying some really stupid things about why this movie failed, and I'm just going to point out the fact this is the 6th Terminator movie.
Yes.
And there only needed to be 2 and then maybe 1 okay sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And then they keep making bad sequels. Like, 3 is, I consider, kind of watchable. And then Salvation is just a complete waste of time.
Yes.
And then, especially because you can tell they cut out the really stupid things they wanted to include, which would have made it probably worse, but at the same time, it would have made more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and then frickin' Genesis happened, and that was awful. I still haven't fully forgiven Jai Courtney for that one. Like, he was good as Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad, but I mean, Suicide Squad also wasn't that good, so can I really forgive him? You know what I mean? It's one of those. Obviously, I have issues with that movie. And then we get Dark Fate, which actually brings back Linda Hamilton.
Yes.
And this one's probably going to be a
glowing positive when it comes to this movie.
This movie's probably a box office bomb, which sucks. Especially because it has a lot of talented people in it.
Yes.
And they were done a giant disservice
That's the problem.
by what came before it. To a degree, the script. Just a lot of problems in general.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much had to ignore everything after T2.
Yeah, and don't forget we also had a freaking TV series in here at one point.
Yeah, the Sarah Chronicles.
Yeah, like, the Terminator continuity is so screwed up right now, it's not even funny. Which is a shame, because, like, Tim Miller is a pretty decent director. Like, if there's anything I could say about this movie, it's got decent direction.
Yes.
This guy that did the first Deadpool, and, like, the action sequences and stuff from that were pretty good. And the action sequences in this one are pretty good as well. But, okay, so just to quickly give some explanation of the plot, basic idea is, was it 25 years after the plot of T2.
No, 22, you're right.
No, it's 22 after events that followed 3 years after T2.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's why it's confusing.
Yeah, because they start off in 98.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes, yeah, because they start out 3 years later, and then it's 22 years later after that, which isn't the last time I'm going to have to say something like that during this episode.
These time jumps. Good Lord.
Time jumps are killer, man. And these ones make sense. Oh, man. So, yeah, what happens is a new character named Danny Ramos, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, like Danny Ramos. She's getting targeted by a new Terminator, the Rev 9.
Yeah.
Which I have to admit is an interesting concept.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things I will definitely say is a very good positive in the fact that they did, to me, the Rev 9 justice. Like, I did not expect it to be that entertaining. I thought it was going to be more paint by the numbers compared to, like, if you look at some of the other Terminator examples, especially like when it comes to T3, they did a very good job in presenting the Rev 9, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, yeah, she's being targeted by the Rev 9, and then a mysterious, like, cyborg soldier. That's probably the way to describe what she is.
Yeah.
Because she's definitely still human, but she's been enhanced, clearly.
Very much so.
So she's a super soldier who can actually kind of ideally stand toe-to-toe with the Terminator, named Grace. She shows up. And then, of course, Sarah Connor also shows up. And since we can't go a movie without Arnold, he does also show up under complicated circumstances I won't spoil here.
No, but it was one of those things like they felt like they had to put him in there, but there really wasn't that much room for him.
No, he is kind of stapled on. Like, yeah. I will give them credit. They used him effectively for a plot point that the previous movie did and phoned in. Like, I don't want to...
Yeah, I know. It's hard to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, I want to point out how they were still more competent than the last movie.
Yes.
Even though, like, it's still, like, the problem is, like, the adventure ultimately is still kind of derivative. And, like, you know, they're trying to have their cake and eat it. Because they're, like, because they do flat, like, I will mention this. The enemy isn't Skynet.
No, not at all.
They create a new enemy instead of Skynet. But it's basically might as well be Skynet.
Right, exactly. And
that's the problem.
And that's the biggest problem with the movie overall is the fact that it feels like, hey, we know what worked with T2. Let's try to do it again. But with different characters. Like,
yeah, and it's and they didn't really have probably the most interesting idea is what they do with the cybernetic soldier enhancements, which still don't fully get explored. And probably the other one is Sarah and her relationship with this new Arnold Terminator.
Yes.
Because that is actually pretty well done, I will say.
Yes, it is. And like I said, when it comes to Sarah Connor, the character, and Linda Hamilton as an actress, she did the most remarkable job in making every scene that she was a part of just eye-catching.
Yeah.
And like you said, that connection between her and this version of the T-800 was the fact that it felt so natural, as absurd as it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to just. Probably the most satisfying thing is this movie didn't have a really random comedy bit out of nowhere involving the police.
That is true. That is very much true.
Again, I really hate. There's a lot of things in Genesis I really hate. Which is probably unfair because there were some decent ideas in that movie, but at the same time,
like I said, that was the sad part when it came to that part of what was supposed to be a trilogy, is that they had ideas that would have been very good if they had better writers or better people to pitch the ideas and pull it all together.
And better actors.
And better actors.
Don't get like a better actor probably could have saved how badly written Kyle Reese was in freaking Genesis.
True.
It would have been an uphill battle because my God, he was whiny. What is it with Jai Courtney showing up in the fifth movie of a franchise and being a whiny little poop? He did that in Die Hard as well.
Yes.
I hate the fact that I hate him so much, even though he's probably actually a pretty decent actor. He's just done 2 roles I really hate.
He's typecast. That's all.
I know. He's typecast as the worst type of people, and I kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, I hate him. It's not fair. I don't know. Like I mentioned, this movie is unfortunately probably a box office bomb.
Yeah.
Because while its box office has now exceeded the budget, they ballparked it has to break even at like $400 million, and the box office is only about like 204 as of this recording.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was just looking to see where it was, and it's at 203.7.
Yeah. And it's not international yet, or no, it's been international, I believe.
Yeah, it actually came out internationally before it came out in the United States.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, that is not good at all.
No,
that is not good at all.
No, I mean, Genesis got saved internationally as well because domestically it did not do well.
Right.
But that one still made like $400 million. So yeah, I don't even know what to say at this point.
Yeah, I don't see that happening here. It's unfortunate because I think it's one of those situations where they've done so many sequels, like you said, and instead of just having like one passable sequel and just letting the franchise rest, they've had just multiple bad sequels.
I know. It's like, just leave the franchise alone at this point, for the love of God.
Yeah, like, just let it die at this point.
Just let it.
Nobody cares.
Just let it sleep for let's say at least 10 years properly, because Salvation came out like 8 years after
3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that still wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't.
Damn it, Christian Bale. Yeah, let's put Christian Bale.
Like it was just definitely one of those situations. They should have learned from the Ninja Turtles after number 3. Just let it go for a while.
Yeah, and
they hit a high mark with number 2, and then we get to number 3. Just let it go for a while after you see how that turned out.
Yeah, please.
Or better yet, next time. I think I figured out the problem. Next time, if they want to do a Terminator movie, have Vanilla Ice rap during a final fight sequence.
Go Ninja, go Ninja. Not gonna lie, I love that sequence. And I hate Vanilla Ice.
No.
Oh, dear. It's crazy that he's an Adam Sandler regular now.
I know.
That's what his career's become.
Yes.
He's still one of the best jokes in That's My Boy.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like I'll say I asked his baby. He's like, man, Queen took like 60%, Bowie took 70%. Every time that song plays, I owe them money. Something like that. That's a pretty good joke.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So let's talk about a movie I actually kind of enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it was a bad movie. It's just it's a sequel to a classic, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the biggest problem.
This one might have been a bit overhyped too.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's really what it was, because I came in a lot. I think with expectations a lot higher than I should have.
Yeah, it might be like this one. Yeah, so we're talking about Dr. Sleep, which is I don't think awaited, but long gestating sequel to The Shining.
Yes.
Because, The Shining, it was written in 1977. The film adaptation came in 1980. Famously, Stanley Kubrick did it, and it took, like, over a year to film or something insane like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Kubrick's very much an intense dude.
Yeah, very meticulous.
Yeah. I'm tempted to make a moon landing joke now, but I'm like, nah. Yeah, and in this case, sorry, I'm just trying to, because Dr. Sleep was written in 2013. So he wrote it 40 years later, and then we get a movie adaptation almost 40 years later.
Wow.
I know, right? Because, yeah, it's 1 year out from being 40 years later. So it's...
Oh, I had no idea. Wow.
The symmetry is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And I think Ewan McGregor, who plays Danny Torrance, he's about the right... how old was Danny supposed to be in the movie? The original?
Oh, that's a good question.
Was he supposed to be 8?
Yeah, that's about right.
Because Ewan McGregor's 48.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's basically the right age for this, too.
Wow.
I know, I was pointing out I was just kind of slowly realizing how well that all worked.
Wow, I had no idea. Like I said, that's about right. That would make perfect sense.
Yeah. And, okay, so, hey, kids, get your Stephen King checklist ready. What's that? Alcoholic? Check. What's that? Vague supernatural elements? Check. What's that? Kind of goofy sounding names for supernatural elements that still kind of make sense despite having to say ridiculous names out loud? Check. Can't remember. Are they in Maine? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what the heck? You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's in Maine or not. We already hit so many Stephen King check marks.
Yeah, we got it all. We got it all already.
But okay, so let's see. Where to start with
Danny
this?
Boy.
Yeah.
Danny Boy.
Danny Boy.
Danny Boy.
We start with the ghost of. I love this. Okay, so for those who don't know, The Shining, the titular Shining is actually their name for kind of vague psychic powers.
Yes.
That let them, in particular, also kind of communicate with ghosts. And that was the thing Danny had in the movie, and also what was his actual name? Dick something?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Scatman. It's what Scatman had.
Yes.
In The Shining as well. Like that's how they had that psychic link, and then I love that. It's like, quick, save me. Okay. Oh crap, I'm dead. Yeah, but in this case, so 1980 or so, Danny. Yes, we're saying the dates again. Get concerned. Danny gets visited by the ghost of Dick. Oh, that sounded bad. Sorry. He gets visited by the ghost of his dead friend, now played by, and I have to point this out, this casting choice. The ghost is played by Carl Lumley,
yes,
the voice of Martian Manhunter in Justice League,
yes.
who I must point out is a psychic alien. So, I just love that casting choice. But he gets visited and learns how to use his shining powers, basically keep ghosts at bay. Because especially like the ghosts of the Outlook Hotel from the original are haunted. So he
exactly.
Right?
No. I'm saying exactly. He not only are you questioning is he being haunted, but like of course you would think that he has PTSD.
Yeah.
Considering like what he went through in The Shining.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Like not only does he have actual PTSD, like he's also being haunted by ghosts, and so he's kind of psychically containing them.
Yes.
Which is of course a plot point. And then all of a sudden, man, I was not expecting this because I have not read the book.
Yeah, same here.
They're vampires.
They're not necessarily immortal, but they are vampires.
I love how Wikipedia describes this: quasi-immortal vampire, which is true.
It very much is. That's the best way to describe them.
I know. Oh man. This is a key plot point, so we can't exactly shy away from this. Yeah.
No. It's something that's introduced very early too. So
yeah.
It's not like that.
But what happens is they feed off of the energy that people with The Shining give off when they die.
Exactly. These are not blood-sucking vampires as you would normally think of vampires. They feed off of psychic energy,
which they call steam. Which,
Yeah.
It's another one of those things.
One of those generic word usages for a supernatural power. Like I said.
You wonder where young adult writers get it, and then you read a Stephen King novel, and you're like, oh.
That's where.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's why everything in the Maze Runner has a really silly name.
Yeah.
Like just, oh yeah, when Stephen King does it, it's brilliant. No, it's kind of annoying when he does it too.
When I do it, I'm like in 7th grade English class all over again.
I know. Like, I get that you want to kind of put your own spin on it. Like, Lord knows I understand that, but still. Anyway. So, yeah. As Danny learns to use his powers to contain the ghosts, vampires are out there sucking up psychic energy.
Steam.
That's just in 1980. Then we get to 2011, where Danny ends up, he's in a small town now, probably in Maine, and he starts making friends, and he ends up becoming the titular Dr. Sleep, because he goes to, was it a hospice? It's a hospice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was hospice or something else, but he goes to a hospice, and he uses his powers to basically make people happy as they're about to die.
Yeah, he pretty much comforts them in their time of death.
Yeah, he's like a weird angel of death in that he isn't killing them, but he's more like the angel of comfort.
But I'm lulling you into death.
Yeah, I mean Dr. Sleep isn't the worst name they could have given him.
No.
I mean that's far from the most egregious name for something we have.
Dr. Kevorkian Jr.
Oh yeah, did we mention what the vampire cult is called?
Oh yeah, it's the True Knot.
Yes. Yes, as in like, the thing you tie.
Yes.
I'm like, all right.
I'm just calling the True Fang.
Yeah. Also, I should mention, head vampire, Rebecca Ferguson.
Yes.
I believe it.
You know what? When I saw her, and it was like, just putting two together, I was like, yep, that works. That makes perfect sense.
I know.
I can believe not only does she lead the True Knot, that she actually is a quasi-immortal vampire.
I mean, I've kind of realized she's perfect for two things. playing seductive Eastern European agents and possibly being vampires.
Right.
Or, like, magical beings. Like,
yes.
She's really good at that, which makes me wonder if the cliche of those two those two archetypes are more similar than we give credit.
Yeah.
Which is why she's so good at this.
That's just so brilliant with it.
She's a very good actress in general, but I mean...
but, like, this is her niche.
Apparently.
This is her forte.
You know what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Gives her interesting roles, if nothing else.
Yeah, very much so. And she's always entertaining, so I can't take that away from her.
Yeah. So, yeah, in 2011, he moved to, I guess, Maine. Let's say Maine. I cannot remember the name of this town.
No, same here. Like, they don't even put it in the wiki. Like, who cares? It's just, like I said, it's Maine. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in Wikipedia it just says small town.
Yeah, small.
Yeah.
Small northeast town.
And, yeah, he's dealing with being in AA, because, of course, he's a Stephen King alcoholic.
Yeah, of course. If you're traumatized, of course you're going to become a drunk.
Yep.
Stephen King.
Which, given what happened, fair.
Yeah, fair enough. I will not take that away from you. You are suffering from things, and now you are self-medicating.
Yep. Which they do call out later in the movie.
Very much so.
Yep. They do point it out. And, yeah, it's a whole thing. And then, but the crux of the movie, just to get to the actual plot of the movie, just so we can stop talking about the recap, is also in 2011, Danny meets, what was her name? Abra Stone?
Yeah, Abra Stone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I remember it's like weird first name, very generic last name, and it sounds like it should be symbolic in some way, but it's not.
Yeah. I always think it was like abracadabra.
Yeah.
Like just magic, psychic, and like all that put together. That's the only thing I can think of.
And like her parents, I think, are named like Elizabeth and Bill.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's name our daughter Abra.
Yeah. Like your name is Jenny and like you say, and Bobby, and we're gonna name your kid Apple.
Yeah, and appropriately for a girl who's named Abra, she's got really powerful shining abilities.
She's got the shinin.
Yep. So the big hook come 8 years later is the true, because again, we jump forward again.
Yes.
That was a little jarring. But, yeah, the big thing is that 8 years later, the True Knots, they're like, we need more shining people. Let's go hunt down this girl and this kid who's now a 48-year-old man.
Yes. Both of them are our best subjects right now to get that steam.
Yep. Get that steam. Because I can't find Gabe Newell. That was a Steam PC reference for those who don't get it. Oh, boy. But, yeah, so that's basically the crux of the movie is they're now being hunted by vampires for their psychic energy.
And I will spoil this, of course. There is this one point where we get to the close to the end of the movie where we have to go back in time to a very familiar site. And I will give them credit, even though to me it wasn't the strongest. I kind of like went down to the horrific tropes, but in terms of like recreating this one particular area, I thought they did a marvelous job.
Oh yeah, no, like that's kind of the thing. As goofy as the whole vampire thing is, which is really hard to get over, I have to say.
It is rough.
Yeah, not to mention some of the other superpowers that show up in this, which granted do all tie into the idea of psychic powers and ghosts.
Yes.
Like the vampire thing is probably the weirdest, but I mean,
yeah,
they're not, because the vampires are tied into the psychic energy as opposed to
just being bloodsuckers.
Yeah, like it still kind of makes a weird in-universe sense. It's like when you have like, psychics and then you have telekinesis and then you also have pyrokinesis and you're like, yeah. I guess that kind of works. But you're starting to push things a bit the more you go away from from traditional psychic fare.
Mental powers.
Yeah. And I mean, they're already trying to tie psychic powers with ghosts, though. But I mean, that's something they did way back in the day.
Yeah, like I said, that kind of ties into it a little bit more. You don't have the stereotype of a vampire that just feeds off of psychic energy. Like, that's not a thing that we've become accustomed to.
Yeah, like, it's... Yeah, like, as opposed to,
You're just waiting for someone to tackle someone and bite their neck. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, and meanwhile, mediums, like the psychic mediums, they're specifically meant to be talking to the dead, so you can see how ghosts and psychics tie together. But then it's like, I want to suck your psychic energy. It's like, hang on. Get into a weird thing.
Yeah.
And then can't
you
they
say
also...
you were a vampire now?
Yeah. And, like, I think they make it so ghosts are basically astral projections.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, again, are part of a psychic, kind of psychic-ish area. So I'm like, all right, that works, I guess.
For me, it was like physical manifestations of what the psychic people had. Like, they saw this person, they wanted to communicate with them, and, like, in their own mind, they're projecting this thing. That just so happens now it's perceived as a ghost.
Yeah. It's a little interesting. But I will say, Ewan McGregor in particular is very good in this.
Oh, he does a great job. No, like I said, the majority of the cast do a great job.
Oh, yeah. Rebecca Ferguson does very good. The new actress who plays Abra, what's her name? Kylie Curran?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty good. I forgot Cliff Curtis was in this.
Oh, yeah,
he's in a pretty small role. Poor guy. But I love me some Cliff Curtis.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean, there's other characters, but...
yeah, but I mean, they kind of like just come in for a scene and then you never see them again.
Yeah, like, there's some that last a little longer. But even then, they ultimately... Like, there's one character that basically exists only to kill off another supporting character before dying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Which ultimately, it's like, okay, you added more conflict, but not much was gained by this.
Right.
Especially with where the story ends up going. Like, that's probably a great encapsulation. Like, as good as the performances are, some characters are ultimately very superfluous. That's the word I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there we go.
Words, I can use them. Yeah.
Instant word of the day.
Yep. Can you say superfluous? I can't. Yeah, like that's probably one of the most egregious things more than anything. Aside from the rough time jumps again, but I mean, it happens.
Yeah. I was jarred by them, but it didn't bother me too much. At least, like, I understood exactly why. It's one of those things like, okay, I don't really want to see Danny coming over his alcoholism over the course of like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm cool with them jumping around and just getting to the point of where they're trying to go with. But like you said, sometimes these extreme time jumps are not necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
We're just going to go with them, though.
Yeah. It's ultimately... Sorry?
I said, overall, though, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not, especially not a bad sequel.
No, it's absolutely fine. Like, I could think of sequels I liked it more than.
Right.
Even ones I thought weren't necessarily inoffensive. Like, for example, I liked it better than Rocky 2.
I was about to say, like, we were just talking about several sequels before.
Yeah.
That we could say definitely did a worse job in providing a direct follow-up to a classic movie.
Yeah, like, absolutely. I mean, if you really think The Shining is sacrosanct, you probably shouldn't watch it. But if you're just kind of eager to see more interesting Stephen King nonsense, that's probably the best way to describe this movie.
Yeah.
It's ultimately interesting, and I think, like, the thing that the movie really does a good job capturing is more of the trauma related to alcoholism, because they kind of had some good scenes with that in The Shining.
Right, yeah, especially with Jack Nicholson's character.
Yeah, and that would probably be one of the things I think this movie did better, if anything.
Yeah, because to me, it always felt like, it was a big part of his character in the original movie in The Shining.
Yeah.
But it didn't necessarily direct as his actions. Like, it didn't make a big dent on why he was acting the way he was acting.
No, I mean, in part, you don't see necessarily good man go to bad man quite as crisply as you probably would have liked. Like, there was one flaw with The Shining. It's arguably that is ultimately
right.
Well, it's a really good Nicholson performance. In general, like, you just kind of see him slowly go insane, but you don't see him quite as loving or warm when he starts.
You don't see how the alcohol fuels his insanity and how he is before it or after it.
Yeah. like you could see how the hotel drives him insane.
Right, exactly.
Just, because I want to be clear, I'm not saying it was a bad performance, but I'm saying because there was the whole ghost thing and the alcohol thing, I think they ultimately focused too much on the ghost thing.
I was about to say it was the supernatural element that fueled what happened to him more so than what he was doing to himself.
Yeah, and in the book, it's a combination of both.
Exactly.
It's a bit more of a metaphor in that respect, I guess. And in this case, like, they examine that more closely. And, like, even in the end, there's a metaphor of sorts with everything that happens. And I think that works a little crisper, even if other parts of the movie definitely don't hold up to, like, how The Shining did things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably the best way to put it. Like, I would argue the one thing it might do better is just the confrontation with actual personal demons of alcoholism and stuff, PTSD, as opposed to, just couching it all in metaphor and perhaps to its own detriment.
Yeah, and to a certain extent being kind of vague and obtuse in what the potential human aspect is. Because like I said, in a movie featuring psychic eating vampires and stuff like that, it's still a lot of the human aspect that makes the film a lot more enjoyable than The Shining in that regard. But like I said, I think it just came together a little bit better in terms of like bringing all of the effects of what's happening to, in this case, Jack Nicholson, compared to what happened to Danny from a supernatural aspect, but from a human and physical aspect, no, I think this movie did a much better job.
Yeah, like that's probably the one thing you can praise, like why it even has value as a sequel. Not just because it continues Danny's story. Because, I mean, that's always the egregious thing. It's like, oh, we just want to continue the story, but you need to make the story worth it. And I think that's something this movie does that a lot of sequels don't.
Yeah, and I will say that's one thing I do agree with you wholeheartedly on, is the fact that even though I could say, hey, you could watch The Shining and never watch this and you really wouldn't lose out on too much, this doesn't make it worse of a franchise by having this movie attached to it.
No.
Like, this adds to the overall universe, for better or for worse at times, but still it doesn't take away from the overall feeling of The Shining and the classicness of that movie.
Absolutely. And I will say, despite the fact that it's like 2.5 hours long, it's a pretty good sit.
I was actually surprised it was that long. I did not realize it was going that long.
No,
to me, it went through pretty fast. It did a very good job of pacing.
Like it definitely feels about 2.5, like a bit over 2 hours long, but it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours long.
Right. It doesn't feel like I'm waiting for something to happen the entire time.
No, like it flows, I want to say Infinity War level good.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to describe how well it flows.
Exactly, yeah.
Because like Infinity War, like it's long and you know it's long, but it doesn't feel quite as long as it is.
Yeah, you're sitting in prepared to be here for this amount of time, but as you're watching it doesn't feel like you've been there for that long.
Exactly. Like I've had that with some other, like even The Godfather. It took me a while to realize, oh man, we're actually, and I think what was another one, Scarface, just to bring up another classic crime movie.
Yeah,
I had the same experience because I was talking to like, Scarface is like 3 hours. He's like, but it doesn't feel like it's been 3 hours. I'm like, I know, right?
Exactly. Yes, very much so.
These movies flow really well. But I think that'll probably wrap it up then. No more final thoughts?
No, like I said, I thought it's a very good sequel to a classic movie. I think, like you said, to me, it might be the situation with me personally. I just came in a little bit too hyped. Like, they put a lot of marketing behind it.
Oh,
but
yeah, they really did.
Oh, yeah. But taking like a step back and analyzing some of especially the human aspects and the way they analyzed it and the way they handled it, I think they did a really good job.
Absolutely. No, it's a pretty good movie. And, it was probably the thing I enjoyed the most that we covered today.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. We're doing the positive move this time because, like I said, from worst to the best in this case, definitely Dr. Sleep was the top of it was the creme de la creme of what we talked about this week.
Yeah, and it was probably better put together than It Part 2.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that too.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's probably the best Stephen King adaptation we've had this year.
Yeah.
Unless there's a smaller scale one that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
But, I think on that note, we can wrap up for today.
Sounds good.
Yep. So thank you for being here, James.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Yep. Glad we had some technical difficulties before we started.
Yeah. It was funny, like the ghost of WWE 2K20 was trying to hard Skype.
He didn't want us to keep slagging off on it. to use the bridge.
Yeah, it was ready. It was like, we know what you're going to say about me. I don't want you to talk about me anymore.
Don't you dare.
Our executives already said, they've already talked about it. Leave me alone.
Yeah, go suck some steam. And somehow also fit a Dark Fate reference in there. I don't know. All right. Well, until next time, folks, just remember, beware the vampires.